Good afternoon, everybody. It is such a pleasure to be here with you again on this lovely Thursday afternoon. It's raining here a little bit in New England, and we're getting those sort of cool fall days. The evenings are dropping down into the 40s in some cases. It's definitely warning us that a new season is upon us, and I am so happy to have you with me today because part of what I want to do is share with you some of that beauty and that fall that we have here on our land. And and I just think it's such a great day to settle in if you can with a cup of tea or coffee, whatever your preference, and snuggle into a corner, read a good book, or do something nice for yourself. I think it's so important to learn how to do that. And I am personally studying self care and trying to understand what that means for myself. Sometimes it feels a little bit, I don't know, strange when I am forcing myself to do self care and I'm not feeling like, I don't know, the desire for that thing. It feels inauthentic somehow. But now is the time for me personally when I really need to be doing those kind of things because the wedding is coming up shortly where Chris and I are getting married. And I'm so excited that we finally get to tie the knot. It's been a long time that we've been together and engaged. And I'm just excited to sort of continue this next chapter of our lives together. And also, then I'll get credit for all these years too. So it's a win win. Um, but I've been finding myself feeling kind of stressed out and definitely a little bit, I don't know, off my center as I'm preparing all these things and doing a lot of sort of crafts myself because I want the ceremony to be really special and meaningful. I want the place that our few family members and guests to come and visit us within is going to be just a beautiful container and a nice and cozy experience for everybody. And I'm just excited for them to come and celebrate with us. And I don't really need everything to be perfect. That's not how I am, but I've definitely gotten into that part of the story where there's just not very much time left. And nowadays, where most of the things are online too, it it's too late to order anything, and you can't find things in the stores as easily. So I don't know. Wish me luck with that. I'm doing the best I can. I'm dyeing a bunch of wood flowers because I was worried that as much as I would love to have live, fresh flowers, that my flowers wouldn't be alive at this time by the time this rolls around. Because you never know with New England, you could get an early frost and everything could just be hit initially and then gone. Or you might get another 3 weeks of nice weather. It's hard to say. So, anyway, busy with that, but trying to just bring myself to take a few deep breaths, and this is the perfect opportunity to do that with you here. I actually went outside today in preparation for talking with you because I found that I needed to clear my head and I wanted to really be open to whatever needed to come through from me to you. And part of how I do that is to find a way where I can get quiet and where I can tap into my higher self and just let myself be in a relaxed state of mind so that um, I'm not mistaking something that I'm worrying about for a topic that I need to bring here. So I try really hard with that, but please forgive me if I do seem a little bit frazzled because I'm learning to relax and I am relaxing. There it is in the present tense. I'm relaxing and it's going to take a little bit more of that. So come and hang out with me for this short little while and let's enjoy some things together. Um, Before we dive into what I wanted to share with you today, I wanted to um, share a poem. I feel like it's a nice way to open our time together and it helps center me a lot. My poems, the ones I choose, of course, seem to be thematic in nature, and I guess they kind of are. I care a lot about what's happening in the world right now. I care a lot about what's going on for our young people. I care very much about sort of where we find ourselves in the energy story, um, how resilient we are as people and as families now that we no longer all live on homesteads and have the skills that our ancestors a few generations ago did. I worry about current events more than I might have. So a lot of the poetry that I find is about coping with stress, about finding what really matters, sort of diving down to the meat and bones of of life and being curious together about what that is because it's different for each of us. And so for me in my personal mission, I feel really called to sort of distill things down into a place where um, I'm doing what I'm meant to do in this life. And sometimes that's be silly and sometimes that's be playful or whatever. But I really enjoy these types of poems. And the one I want to read to you today is from Wendell Berry. Um, he wrote a poem called October 10, and I feel like it's fitting for the day. He says, "Now constantly there is the sound, quieter than rain, of the leaves falling. Under their loosening bright gold, the sycamore limbs bleach whiter. Now the only flowers are beeweed and aster, spray of their white and lavender over the brown leaves. The calling of a crow sounds loud, a landmark, now that the life of summer falls silent and the nights grow." So I just wanted to share that with you. And what I'd love to talk about today is what I found when I was just going outside today on my adventure. But I realized when I shared last week about our garden and various things going on our property here, I didn't quite get to everything. So I wanted to include a few pieces from that. If you haven't watched it, please feel free to go back. And also, if you've never been to this channel before, my name is Evie Botelho. Uh, I care a lot about building resilience of all kinds, emotional, spiritual, physical, um, all sorts of types of resilience. And so it's not just a channel about gardening or what you do on a homestead or a farm. It's going to be a channel additionally about how to maintain our soul, how I need to maintain my soul, and sharing that journey with you in case that's of any help. And so, if you're interested in having these kinds of conversations with other people, if you find that you're a like minded soul and you click onto this video and you're like, wow, there's something that woman's saying that resonates with me, please do wander on over to our website called peakprosperity.com, which is a place where we can be uncensored and in deep conversation together about what matters most. So I can't wait to share with you my friends. So let me just. All right. So here we go. This is Dottie. Um, I have all sorts of different types of chickens, and I'm gonna do my best to remember all their names. Sometimes that's easier for me than others, but Dottie is, I believe, a Dominique, and she's a really sort of flighty bird. When you get chickens and you have a homestead and you have lots of different types and varieties, you'll start to notice that there are some that are better for certain things than others, some that might be more family friendly, some that are better producers and egg layers, some that seem to have no issue in the summer, like they don't start panting because they're too hot, which is what they do sometimes when they're stressed. They'll open their beak and it kind of seems like they're panting a little bit and they'll hold their feathers out because it's just too much for them. The heavy bodied birds, the larger birds, like your buff Orpingtons and such, they have a lot of body mass, but they also have really thick feathers. And so those guys are going to have a harder time in the heat as other types of chickens than other types of chickens might. And I personally enjoy chickens who can do well in our New England weather, which is a combination of being able to stay warm enough and also cool enough, which is tricky, as we humans struggle with the same thing sometimes. But I like this breed for a couple of reasons. And one of them, let's see if I can get this to show up on the screen. Here we go. Can you see my pointer? No, you can't see me doing that. If you'll notice on her comb up here, you'll see right above her beak, you'll see her comb, and she doesn't have a normal sort of what you'd expect as a traditional chicken comb. There are various types of combs that chickens can have. And the traditional one is the one you think of that looks kind of like a hand on the top. This one is a smaller, closer to the body comb. And so it's great to have chickens that have this because then it doesn't freeze if you're in a place that gets very cold temperatures. And this is another picture of Dottie. I finally have a gentleman rooster. This is our rooster. He doesn't look so fantastical in this picture. I actually think that, oh no, that's not a rooster. Is that our rooster? No, that's our hen. I'm sorry. I think. No, I guess that's a rooster. She, he is a perfect gentleman after we had to, unfortunately, put our other rooster in the freezer because he was just being awful and aggressive. He actually attacked somebody, and like when they start to get their spurs, which is like this toenail that grows on the inside of their feet that starts to grow in, when they get that going on and they don't like what's happening, if they feel threatened at all, they will actually put their feet up, and that's when you've heard of like cockfights and people getting chickens, roosters together and having them fight to the death. That's exactly what they do, and those things can be really sharp. And so our previous rooster was just a problem that sort of was waiting to happen. And then right before we decided it was time to put him in the freezer, we had a kid come to visit our farm, and we were just feeding the chickens and being very sweet and gentle. And one of them got threatened, and it didn't feel right. So this guy, however, is pretty nice. He's low key. He's not very noisy. He doesn't bother me. He sort of hides behind the girls, which maybe isn't the trait I want in a rooster, but when you have a lot of testosterone, it makes you very protective in some ways, which these guys get when they hit puberty. But it can also be a downfall if you're having people around your farm, and if anybody has ever been attacked by a rooster, I know you know what I'm talking about. This is Krista. She's an older chicken, and the reason I have this picture is because I wanted to show you the difference. If you remember, Dottie's comb was like this nice, um, flushed pink color, and Krista's is on the paler side. And the reason for that, other than because I know that she's healthy and she's not unwell, the reason for that is because as chickens age, you can actually tell how healthy they are, how much vigor they have left to continue laying by looking at their comb. And their comb will get bleached as time goes on. And so they'll have a less and less color in it as they get older. And that's one way at a glance you can easily look at chickens and know kind of, are they sick? Are they healthy? Are they young? Are they old? It's an easy way to tell. Krista made the cut in terms of us keeping her because my she's named Krista because my daughter Aurelia named her that, and she's a friend that we've had for a long time, and she's very personable, super smart. She's a I always say it wrong. Blah, blah, blah. It'll come to me. But she has like that funny, fluffy neck and cheeks that are a little puffy, and man, my brain's not working. I have wedding brain. Sorry. um, These are Bielevelders. That's what this girl is. I actually have like 8 of them that all look practically the same, and so it's a little bit hard to know exactly who this is. But if you can see in this picture, her comb is very different in the shape of it, but she's also got that like nice pink color to it. And I went in there. I was looking through at them. This is our outdoor run. They were kind of mad at me today because I didn't want them outside. It was really raining and they would have just been soaked. But I keep I keep a big bin of black oil sunflower seeds in there, which I give them frequently because I think chickens, especially if you think about um, the mass that they produce by way of an egg every 24 hours, that's a huge amount of output from their body, and they really need to be getting the nutrients and other things that they need. And aside from giving them a lot of like greens and other sort of supplements from the garden, I do try to give them black oil sunflower because I think they need that, the oils in that. Um, and I'll tell you more about what we're planning on doing in the future, which will be excellent. These, this is a part of nature I found on the bucket. I just thought it was so beautiful. It was just on the random bottom of a bucket turned upside down, and I was like, "Oh, that's so pretty." And when I'm outside, a lot of times those are the kinds of things that I find myself being drawn to, and I don't know, I just get a kick out of things that are beautiful. This is what our little valley looked like today in the rain. Um, I wish I could import the sound to you. It's so beautiful. On the left, you can see our big maple trees, and then sort of in the foreground is this pad that we're going to be putting like a little three-wall equipment um, barn up or run-in sort of structure. Um, and that'll house the tractor and other implements that we can park there so they're out of the elements. And this is our maple, sort of our sugar bush area. We have so many maples in this particular particular part of our land, and it's nice and flat, which makes it easier in terms of because we collect things by hand. We don't have this all tubed up like some people do, which might be advantageous to be honest in the future, but for now, this is our this is our backyard. This is a view from the stream, which is just outside our house, and it's so nice because it's close enough that we can just go walk down there and stick our feet in the water and listen to that sound of burbling, which is it's just so relaxing. And I don't know if there's a place like that near you and that you really are drawn to that is comforting or interesting or hold your attention, but if you feel the need to have more grounding and relaxation, definitely go to that place wherever it is for you because I got so much from being outside today. I can't even tell you. It was so important for me. Fall is in the air here. We've got a little bit of color, a lot of brown leaves too. It seems like fall is just happening so quickly this year. Just like in the spring, it seemed like the warm weather, we didn't really have a very long spring, and the warm weather just bowled right in, and we had a very hot summer here and a pretty humid summer too. But fall is in the air. This is a firebush, which a lot of people actually plant in their yards. I hate this bush. It's an invasive species, but it is really beautiful. It turns this bright crimson red in the fall, and it's just part of the painting that is the landscape that we get to enjoy here in the Northeast. It's phenomenally beautiful, and the birds like the berries on it, so I don't hate it totally, but it is very virulent in that it grows everywhere, and it's really hard to get rid of once it gets rooted somewhere. This is our stream. I don't know if this is going to let me play my videos. Maybe. Um, there's something about water that's so cleansing and so good. And so I went down there. I was just noticing all the different leaves that were falling into the stream. Sometimes I go and like collect them and then float them in certain areas. It's just fun. There's another view of this beautiful stream that we have. And I think this was originally a video, but it was perfect having the raindrops coming into the water and dripping, and you could hear the sound of the leaves also being rained on, and then the sound of the stream itself was just so nice. This is called the Otis Waite, and this is a brook that's right next to our house. You can see that it's been there for a long time because it's pretty wide over the years. It's obviously changed course just a little bit, and we have very rocky soil under that. I don't know if you can tell, but if you look at where the tree line is there up on the bank, that there's like maybe a foot and a half of what I would consider decent soil, and then the subsoil starts to get rockier and very much we're in a sandy zone because this is also sort of this in terms of being a valley. It has also it's like the riverbed from the west branch of the Westfield just also has flooded this area before, and I think there are lots of things left behind, as well as whatever the glacier left too. There's another slide of our old water. Oh, shoot, I wish this would play for you. It's so nice. I'm sorry. It's been a little hectic. There we go. You can see it. I don't know that you're going to get the sound, but you can see it. That's our beautiful stream. So nice. Here's another picture of the water. Now, I love going out in the woods for multiple reasons. One in particular because um, I just enjoy watching the green kind of drain away from everything. And we have a lot of hay scented fern, which is what this is. And if you know that scent that ferns have, they're all kind of differently scented, but this one in particular is really sweet. So I went outside today and I just, oh, I wish I could bring that scent with me and send it to you. It's so lovely. But these are just covering the floor of the forest here in lots of places. And as they start to turn, when I was younger, I was like, you know what? It's like nature's lace. Like it's just so beautiful. So I wanted to share that with you as well. Oh, Chris put my slides together, so I think they're a little bit different than I might have ordered them, but that's okay. Oh, water. So this place where we live has um, so much running water. It has a ton of drainage coming off of our land, which is we own our watershed above us, and I think they're just little mini springs throughout that area, and so it comes out in all sorts of places and drains into this brook, which is kind of nice because we have flow all year round. Some places, smaller springs and whatnot, might only be seasonal, but this flows all year round. And if we ever really needed to, we have a water source, which is amazing. Um, in addition to that, we also have a spring line, which is totally separate from this brook. But it's a nice place to hang out. I wanted to share this with you because I often am searching when I'm in the forest for plants that I recognize and sort of like friends of mine that I've hung out with before, that I've spent time with. Um, this particular one is wintergreen, and if you break the leaves open, it has like a shinier, almost evergreen uh, leaf, kind of like a holly bush does. You know, holly will stay green way, 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 way into the winter, even sometimes through the winter. This wintergreen, if you were to break the leaf open and smell it, it just has this amazing minty scent, and you can actually eat that. I'm not advocating that you eat things without first looking them up and identifying them the best you can. So this is not advice about what to eat or not, but um, this is a fun one to find. You can make tea out of it if you feel like it. I'm sure it has vitamin C and other health benefits. I just enjoy the flavor of it, and it's nice when I'm walking around in the woods. This is another one that's edible called partridge berry. And this is also found in a similar environment to the wintergreen. This berry is uh, slightly smaller. It is also in the wintergreen didn't have a berry on it to show you, but wintergreen berries are also red. It's not a super juicy berry. It's kind of white on the inside and like mealy, if that makes sense. But it does have a milder flavor than the wintergreen berry. But if you had to, these are also edible. These are, this is a ghost pipe. And for anybody that's not familiar with it, it's actually, it's a fungus. It's in the mushroom family of things, but it does not, or I'm sorry, I might be messing that up. It doesn't have any chlorophyll whatsoever. Sorry, my bad. I think it's actually, I'm all mixed up now. Anyway, my brain is not here. Sorry. Um, Ghost pipe is a great medicinal because it helps you to deal with pain. It can be a really good pain agent, pain fighter. And again, this is not medical advice, but I tincture this. I use it for my own purposes. It's good for emotional pain. It's good for physical pain. It just helps you get enough distance between yourself and whatever you're experiencing to sort of be able to handle and manage it a little bit better. Again, of course, consult on somebody who is really well versed in this before you would start taking anything like this. But it's just great to know that these things are there. Oh, here's another fern that's a close up of it. this is one of the photos from our big event that we just had up in New Hampshire at Camp Robindale. We had a huge weekend event with about 300 people. It was absolutely stunningly beautiful up there on Lake Winnipesaukee. And what I really enjoyed about it was getting to be around people who are like-minded, who I didn't have to explain or make a caveat before I opened my mouth to speak. I felt like inherently we were all on the same page, and that was such a relief to me. Um, I don't know if you have people that you feel like you can talk to and who you can be real with. And if you don't, um, I know it takes so much courage to put yourself out there in a way that's real these days, but I'm thinking about maybe starting an online circle where I can get together with other women in this case and just talk about what really matters to us because I feel like, I mean, it could be men and women, but I feel like if we can't get together in person, it's just good to have a place where we can meet together and process together sometimes. And at this event, I think I mentioned it last week, but it was amazing to have a women's circle with some of the women that were at this event and to just share and to feel how much lighter um, the burdens that we all carried felt after that because we really do need each other. And we're getting to that point, I think, in the history of this world where things are just getting crazier and crazier. And it all feels like it's moving faster and faster and that there's no reprieve from it. And we're all sort of struggling with this in our own little world, in our own little realms. And I think my experience when I get a chance to put myself out there in a real way and be around other people is it's really healing and it helps bring my mind around as well to other perspectives and um, it's just it's very grounding. So this was just a wonderful experience and I think a lot of the folks that went also enjoyed it. Um, we had different tracks so you could choose whether you wanted to be learning about like sort of hard skills, resilience concepts like what do you do for security around your house and how are you going to manage um, water and filtering and all of that sort of stuff. And then there was another track which was all about food and wellness and how do you choose wisely for your family and for yourself and your health and we're all just I think opening our eyes to what's been going on in our food system for a really long time where the agencies that create all the drugs that are prescribed all the time for us are also the same purveyors of our food system and they um, are more than happy to create toxic chemicals essentially in our food supply that we aren't even aware of that make the bread last for 3 weeks without molding or make that banana last longer or whatever the case may be. But unfortunately, between what's already in our soil and in our outer world in terms of chemicals and then what is applied to some of these things conventionally, it's a disaster. So even if you're eating whole food, you might not have all the nutrients that you need, and you might be getting these toxic things that can adversely affect your health. So we talked a lot about that, which was also um, just important for people to hear and to be able to ask questions. We had a woman named Nicole. I forget her last name. Sorry, Nicole, but she was great um, presenting on that topic, and there were lots of other people as well that shared the knowledge that they have, the experience that they have growing their own food, studying the effects of certain chemicals on the human body, learning how to build soil, etc. This is Lake Winnipesaukee at sunset. It was just so beautiful. And I think part of that is the open expanse, right? Where there's just this clear area. There aren't any trees, and oh, it's just stunning. This was us. There you can't see us in this picture, but there were a few hundred people around this campfire. It was really beautiful. Um, we had talks during the day, and then we got together after dinner, and hung around a fire, had lots of conversations together. Some of those were more presentation type conversations. And then there was lots of time for people to just get to know each other. And I saw so many people that, were just on the side having one-to-one conversations, personal sort of connections with other individuals. And I'm looking forward to the day when Chris and I can finish this project across the street and we can have a place where people can come. And we can do that multiple times during the year instead of having just one giant thing. We could have many smaller ones. And I think that would allow for us to accommodate more people, because it's definitely hard to have that many people and have everyone feel like they get to ask the questions they want to ask, or they get the information that they came searching for. And but for everybody who joined us, thank you so much. And if you haven't come, definitely consider coming this next year. In terms of edibles, these are Jerusalem artichokes. I don't know if anybody here already has them. These were already on this property when we moved here, and then as we've moved soil around, they too have been moved around. And of course, everybody that has them knows that they can take over like nobody's business. It's kind of crazy. Whoops. How quickly they decide that they are going to be the dominant species in your garden. And that's exactly what they do. And these, you can't tell in this picture, but these are actually probably close to 10 feet tall. I'll show you in the next one. You can get a sense of their height. So that's them right in front of that big maple tree. And the garden's right there to the left with a wheelbarrow in front of the door. But those are those same Jerusalem artichoke. And for anybody that hasn't seen them before, they have this potato-like root. So when you dig them up, just like a potato, they have this central stalk, and then they go down and they have sort of smaller seeds, so to speak, that they make. And so it's this whole organism that when you harvest, one plant could have like, I don't know, 20 little nodules of a root. And you can also break them apart from each other and they come together in such a cool way. They're like a geometry puzzle, or like Tetris. Like they just fit together in this really cool way. Really beautiful plant, actually. And last year, they grew in the same exact spot. And part of the reason that I think they did so well is because that is our compost pile. It's where we dump a lot of what we scrape out of our cow stalls from them being in the same place during the winter time and stuff like that. And so it's just crazy to me how we have these gigantic Jerusalem artichokes taking off and really spreading, in part because of where we put them accidentally. But you can cook them kind of like you would a potato. They're in this, like in a starchy kind of root. And I guess the one thing is that the human body is not particularly good at breaking down everything that they have to offer. And so they can be on the gassy side of things. But if you needed to eat them, you definitely could. Oh, here's another picture of our stream. Yeah, Chris is so sweet. He came in and helped me with this slide deck because I was having trouble getting my Samsung phone to talk to my Apple computer, blah, blah, blah. And so he came in here and he put all these slides together, but I don't think he knew the story I was trying to tell. So they're a little bit all over the place. So I might just go past a couple of these. That I actually want to look up. I took a picture of that because it looks like a chanterelle possibly that was spent, but I'm not totally sure. There's so many mushrooms that grow around here, but you have to be so careful. And I never eat anything that I don't absolutely 100% know for a fact what it is. And to be that certain takes a lot of experience. And I don't have that experience yet. I'm still very much learning about mushrooms. You can tell a lot by the gills that something has. So whether they have like these flat sort of slits or more tubes that come out at the bottom, it can help you in the identification. But there are a lot of different ways you can know what a mushroom might be. Part of it is the season that it's growing in, the where you find it and what you find it growing on, if it's dead wood or if it's, leaf duff or, up the side of a tree. Like all those things are clues. And then, of course, the mushroom and the shape of it and the form and whether its stem is hollow or not, and etc. It's just, there's so many factors. So with mushrooms, it's such a bountiful world. I mean, there's so many species, and they really, a lot of them really are very good for us. I think medicinally, mushrooms hold a lot that we haven't quite unlocked yet. Um, considering that ivermectin was once, like, it was actually created in part from a compound taken from a fungus. And I think there is a lot that we have yet to discover in these things. And I personally take like cordyceps and lion's mane and all those different mushrooms. But if you can't if you don't feel confident in your ability to um, identify something, if you haven't studied with somebody who knows what they're doing, because it's really hard to just look at books and know, just be careful. I just took some pictures of these because they looked really, really cool to me. This is a big old oak tree, and this is a sister oak tree to it. So there were a couple of really old growth trees here on our property that I think were boundary markers back in the day. So they were never cut because it was sort of somebody else's way of knowing where a line ended or started, or if they broke things into paddocks or whatever. Because we used to have sheep over here on our in our forest area, and so there are these big, huge grandmother trees. But these guys, this particular one, um, is still upright. But I found one which was down, and I took some pictures of it. Just massive, massive tree that just wipes out anything that's close by because it's so large and so heavy. In particular, some of these. This is actually an old maple, I think. What did I say? Oak? I meant maple. But there are some old oak trees in there that just crazy, crazy, crazy old trees that just have really special energy. This is what I call, I guess the common name that I've heard is Indian cucumber. It's got an edible root that you can dig up. You can see there's like right above where the green leaves are, you can see like a little berry, like a dark, almost black berry. I believe that's a male plant, and or I might have it reversed, but there's a male and a female plant. It takes, like, you need both of them essentially in order for it to continue on and make the seeds that um, and reproduce. And so you want to be careful. This is also something that I don't think there's a massive amount of. Like, you'd want to, if you were going to try it sometime, because I actually do recommend it. It tastes kind of like a cucumber. The flavor of it can be like that. Um, if you get it in the middle of the summer, it doesn't taste like a whole lot, but in the spring and in the fall, I think because it's full of more sugars, it definitely has a really nice flavor that's kind of fun to experience. And I usually, like, gently, I'll follow the stem down and find the root maybe an inch and a half or two below the ground. And if I have water nearby, I might wash it off. But it's not huge. Like, you're not looking for a giant carrot or something. It's easy to miss because it's this white root that's probably anywhere from like 1 to 2 inches long and maybe a quarter of an inch in diameter. So it's really quite small, and you'd have to eat a lot of them to get any sort of sustenance. But again, it is something that the land sort of provides all on its own. This is what I think is, to me, what really makes me feel wealthy is we have we got a freeze dryer last year, and we have been enjoying that and learning how to use that. And um, just recently, I cut up a bunch of apples from our apple trees, and we dehydrated them, or sorry, I keep saying that, freeze dried them in our freeze dryer, and then I put them into bags, and we vacuum sealed them. And so now we can just put this into a 5-gallon bucket and have it. We do this with our extra eggs. You can do it with so many things. Cheese. You can pre-make meals and freeze dry them. I did it with some peaches, although I'm not sure why, but it didn't work out very well. I think it was because I mixed different varieties of things. So I had peaches in there with, I forget what it was, tomatoes, I think. And so I think everything had different levels of sugar and, and it just different drying times. And there's a sensor in there. So the machine is essentially deciding how long it's going to run for. And it's kind of an expensive thing. I mean, to buy in the first place, it's an investment. Like it was something that we decided to do because it meant that we would be able to preserve a lot of our harvest, and it preserves it in such a way that it still maintains a lot of its vitamins and nutrients, unlike if you're boiling something, you know, in jars or freezing it. Like it doesn't keep the same way. And so it felt like a really important investment. But additionally, it is a big power suck. So when you do plug it in, it takes like, I don't know, 14, 20 hours sometimes, depending on what you're doing. And so there's like a 12 hours of it just freezing, and then it does the drying part, and then it kind of defrosts, but it's just a whole process. And so that's just something to keep in mind. Like this isn't going to be useful to us if there are tons of power outages and stuff like that. But for now, it's a nice way to keep our harvest. And so I probably did, I don't know, like a couple of bushels of apples this year from our trees, which is nice. These are our grapes. These look kind of funny because this is already after they've been steamed. This is the steamer. I think I was talking about it last week, but it's wonderful piece of technology. I grew up in the days where if you were wanting to make grape jelly or juice, that you would have to suspend it in cheesecloth, and it just makes a huge mess and everything gets stained and on and on. But this is actually a pretty easy way to you put something in that you want to juice, and you put the cover on, and it has a almost like a double boiler. It has a pan underneath, and that steam will go up through into the fruit or whatever you have captured in there. And then there's a pan that all the juice falls down into, and it essentially via the steaming, it explodes all those cells within the fruit too, because it's much hotter than if it was just cooking. And so, and the mechanism of action is different, I think, and how it extracts those things. And so you waste a lot less. I've found it easier too because you can just throw it in even with stems on. Like it's not you don't have to be too fussy about it. We clean them pretty well before we put them in, but you know, there's the odd random one or two that is unripe or whatever, and you're not having to fuss over whatever you're choosing to make juice out of. I think you can do, I've heard people say that they've made broth out of it, so you could put meat and bones in there of some kind and it'll juice that, which is kind of weird to me, but I might try with my tomatoes because I just have so many, and tomatoes are intense because you have to, if you want to use them, I tend to want to take the skins off because the skins they're just not enjoyable when you get too many of them in a sauce or whatnot. And so this is nice because we can just throw them in there and juice them, and then have that I can use and add to soups or stocks or sauces or whatever. And this is the juice that we made. Isn't that so beautiful? I love it. It's so beautiful. I swear that is liquid gold. That and the apples. I'm just it feels so good to get things put away. And so I put those in our canner and processed those for about 5 minutes of like hard boiling, submerged, and they're all sealed up, and now they'll keep for a while. Haven't tried freeze drying juice yet. I know you can though, so that's my next thing, just to see if I can get this like distilled concentrate, then turn it into a powder that I can, you know, add to smoothies and things like that. And because you're taking the water out too, everything ends up like 10 times lighter because so much of what we have is, you know, fruits and vegetables. It's the weight of it is all water. So it's really cool. This next one, I mentioned this last week, but I just wanted to share this again because I didn't have a picture with me. These are the grain bins that we chose to order and install. Here's a close-up of them. I think it says Pride of the Farm. I think that's the brand name of them. These are, I believe they're stainless steel. Um, they're not the hardiest things, and of course they're not huge, but it's really tough in New England to find um, grain silos and bins that you can put things in because I don't know if it's because we lost our farming infrastructure, but there just isn't as much of that around here to use and or to find for sale. And so it was tough to actually even um, get my hands on these and get them shipped because you're paying a ridiculous amount in freight charges and stuff like that. But you can see on the left there's a ladder where you can walk up and open the top as you need to, and then of course it goes down to this the spout underneath. You open a little door on the bottom and it'll all come pouring out. And I think what we're gonna do is put whole grains in all of those. We'll have corn and wheat and maybe oats, and not process them at all. So we don't want them rolled or halved or cut in any way. And then they'll keep longer. And then what we're gonna do, I think, is get something so we can pelletize them and add whatever other ingredients we want, our chickens or cows, or I think we're talking about maybe getting sheep, whatever those animals are, we can create their feed for them based on what we know about their nutritional needs. So it feels good to have those in our yard. This is our resident black squirrel. He's actually his type for some reason, like somebody brought over, like I think it was 100 years ago or something crazy, these black squirrels, and they brought them specifically to some like, I don't, it wasn't a petting zoo obviously, but it was like a some type of zoo in Western Massachusetts. And then since we've had this crazy population of black squirrels, genetically bizarre because of their coloring, but battling it out with the resident gray squirrel. Um, I like them. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because they're different. I like the black sheep in the world. This is our back porch. That's one of our beautiful sugar maples. Here's our wood pile right behind, right in our back door. It's just so nice to have wood put up. It's also really beautiful. I love looking at it as well. And this is a structure that Norm, who is our friend in residence here, he's we hired him to do some work with us and for us, and he's helping us build certain things. And that's really exciting to have like a larger wood shed where we can be drying things, for next year and the year after, so we can get ahead of our usage of the wood, because it's really hard in New England. Sometimes you can find it seasoned, pre-seasoned, but not always, and it can be really pricey when you do. So it's just good to get in advance of that and put a bunch of wood up and have it be drying and sort of at least stacked, or out of the main elements of the world. This is what somebody we know put in, and I thought it was cool, so I decided I would include a picture of it. This is a underground storage where you could store root veggies and other things. I think in a pinch, this person could probably also use it as like a shelter, if there was any kind of nuclear or some kind of scary threat. Of course, with this, I like what they did, and this is why I took this picture, is um, they put on the inside, you can see the framing. You would really have to reinforce these, because what we have heard is that they, on the corners, they're pretty strong because this is an old shipping container, but it doesn't have that same strength along the walls and the ceiling. And so this person outfitted this in order to be a little bit more enduring. Here's another picture of the inside. I think she said they were going to put like some shelving in there, and then that's where they put their potatoes and their onions and other parts of their harvest. And Are we at the end? We are. All right. Oops. All right. So that is the end of our slides, but I do have one other thing that I wanted to share with you before we go. And I just have to find. Hang on. All right. This is another one. Since I was doing Wendellberry at the beginning, I figured it would be good to finish with Wendellberry as well. And this is called The Peace of Wild Things. And he says, when despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear for what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day blind stars waiting for their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. I hope that you have a really a good week, one that you find things that nourish you and that help you to feel sane in this crazy world. And as in the US, as we move closer to our election, I think things feel even more insane. And Chris and I are so much that we decided not to go out of the country for our honeymoon. It just doesn't feel like a good time to be that far away from home. But wherever you are, wherever you find yourself, I do hope that you can find inner peace during times of trouble in this world, and that you have surrounding you a lot of beings that know who you are and love who you really are, and that you feel able to be your authentic self. And I look forward to having more times like this that we can share together. I don't know if I'll be seeing you next Thursday, but we'll see how it goes. It's going to be right up against the wedding. But I look forward to telling you all about it, and also just exploring other things on the other side of that. I know my brain will have, I will have a huge amount of bandwidth finally freed up, and I'm looking forward to that. So until then, take good care of yourself, and please do visit us at Peak Prosperity if you feel so inclined. And if you enjoyed this video, do give a thumbs up and pass it along so other people can find our channel. Thanks so much. Take care.